Okay, this is the module overview video for Module 10. If you look in the module introduction, you'll see that this is about evaluating and creating knowledge, and it points out that a lot of the information we find online gets a bad rap. Sometimes the information that you find is terrible, sometimes it's decent, mixed in with some terrible, and sometimes it's high quality. And so you have to think about the credibility of this information and work to evaluate your sources to determine that your sources have quality information. The readings down here, the first one, 15 Steps of Good Research, talks about how research is conducted very broadly, that people formulate a research question and a hypothesis about how that question could be answered or what it is that they're attempting to study. They identify possible sources of information in many types and formats. They judge the scope of the project. They select the most appropriate investigative ways. So there's this whole list of things. You need to take time and look at these and think about these. When you look at your source in a few minutes to actually do the assignment, you need to think about how these 15 steps are being used or how they're not being used, how they're being ignored, and how that affects the credibility of the information for that source. Meaning, should we believe that it's true or not if they're missing some of these important steps in conducting good research. So this is an overview of 15 basic steps for good research. The other text is the New Media Technologies text. And this really discusses the evolution of new media, how it changed from things like analog into digital media, like analog sources of media to digital media, and so forth. The personalization and the development of social media, and so forth. So these texts then really show that transition from old media forms to new media forms. I said these texts, I meant this text, sorry. So you need to make sure that you read this in detail as well. When you click on Journal 10-1, you're going to see that your assignment is to explore research techniques and citation methods that you've read about as they're used in popular media, specifically a YouTube video. So you're going to choose one of the following links, not both, just one. Pick the one that is of more interest to you. And you're going to reflect on how that research is being conducted and try and determine whether it's credible or not. So this is a form of new media, right? We're not talking about the old traditional forms of media. This is new media. We've got 2 YouTube videos here. And just because it's new and because it's online doesn't mean that it's terrible. But you need to evaluate the credibility of the information. So you want to write a journal reflection that addresses these prompts. So what is the leading research question that drives the text? What is the person trying to figure out? Describe in detail the steps that they took to answer the question. How many and which steps did this individual take that was outlined from the Georgetown University source? Okay. Discuss the individual's use of source material. Were they quoting reputable sources or not? Where did their investigation take them, and what sources did they use to answer the questions? Discuss the conclusions they came to. Did they actually answer their research question? If so, how and when did they arrive at that answer? So there's a lot of questions here that you want to address, and the last one is about the characteristics of the video. So what characteristics of the video make it a new media video? And how does the video represent a change in the evolution of media? So for this last question, you're definitely going to refer to that second text, this New Media Technologies, and you'll need to quote something or paraphrase something from this text. You're also going to then use this 15 Steps of Good Research to help answer those previous questions, so make sure that you cite and quote that text as well. Notice that your journal entry should be at least 350 words long and reference both of the articles, the New Media Technologies and the 15 Steps one, as well as the video source. So you're going to have to quote or paraphrase something from the stuff from the video and stuff from both articles. You'll format your paper according to MLA style. We've covered that a lot. The last name and page number, identifying information, all that good stuff. And you'll provide evidence in MLA style from your 3 sources using in-text citations. We've covered that a lot. You need to continue to do that. And then your works cited page. Now, your works cited page should look something like this. So up here will be like your essay, and this isn't laid out in the essay format, but you're going to have the works cited, title centered, of course. You'll end up adding the hanging indents. You're going to have last name, comma, first name, period, the title in quotation marks with the period, the container will be italicized, the date, and the URL. Okay? Now, one thing to notice about this works cited, since we're now doing 3, I haven't emphasized it so much when doing 2, but when doing, when you have more than one source that you're citing, you alphabetize them by the author's last name. So in this case, we have Bowerman, Kuzumchak, Pisani, right? Now this source here, and again, this is just an example. This source doesn't have an author, and so you leave it off and you just go with the title of the text. So these sources, of course, don't have anything to do with the assignment that I just described. These are just different examples of sources. So you're not going to use these per se. You're going to write the works cited entries that are appropriate for the module. But notice that they are alphabetized, Bowerman, and then the D and dropping, and then the K, and then the P. So you're going to do that for your source or for your works cited page as well. Okay, email me if you have any questions.